दोस्तों, इस क्लास में आपको डिक्टेशन प्रोवाइड करूंगा मैं 80 WPM पर SSC और DSSSB के लिए जो स्पेशल मैंने मैटर तैयार किए हैं उसकी आपको डिक्टेशन प्रोवाइड कर रहा हूं 80 WPM पर। बी रेडी फॉर इट।
The majority community has to see to it that this implied gentleman's agreement is honored in letter and in spirit, and that we give our friends more seats that their population entitles them to receive. If we are not able to do that, we shall not be able to justify the great concessions that they have made. Then again, there is the question of non-violence. Have we been true to Gandhiji's teachings? We have carried out his wishes to the last. If at all Gandhiji was not able to get his wishes carried out, it was only during his own lifetime that he failed, for he had set his face against partition, yet ultimately he had to yield to it. Otherwise, the cardinal principles, like the four-pronged attack against the British and also the mission of reconstruction in the country, we have incorporated in our constitution, and therefore with a clean conscience we can say that we have carried out his wishes. So far as non-violence is concerned, it is not a thing that can be worked into the laws of the country through a non-violent state. It is an attitude and an approach, a direction and not a destination. It is an attempt, not an attainment. Therefore, so long as we are working towards the direction of non-violence, so long our labors are bound to bear fruit. The only example I can cite on this point is the great achievement of our Prime Minister in his recent tour of America, where he won laurels as the key man of the age and possibly as the first Prime Minister of a world state. He has been able to impress the Westerners with this philosophy of ours. There is no doubt that we are saturated and surcharged with the spirit of non-violence, no matter if we still employ the police on the one hand and the military on the other, or even if we be prepared to wage wars in anticipation of wars in which we may be involved. When all is said and done, we must realize how much we owe to the half a dozen men that have fashioned this constitution and given it a shape and form. Our friend Dr. Ambedkar has gone away, else I should have liked to tell him what a steamroller intellect he brought to bear upon this magnificent and tremendous task, irresistible, indomitable, unconquerable, leveling down tall palms and short poppies, whatever he felt to be right, he stood by regardless of consequences. He has made great contributions towards the drawing up of this constitution. He only has to perfect it all by writing a commentary upon it. Mr. Madhava Rao is not here now. He had labored hard in our committee. He had vast experience from that of an assistant commissioner, Mysore, when I was still in my medical studies, until he became Diwan. He too has done his good bit in this work. Then there is a man who is almost unnoticed and whose name has not been mentioned by any of my friends, who have brought a rich experience to bear upon the deliberations of this house. Finally comes the slim, tall man who sits opposite to me with his ready and rapier thrusts of repartee and rejoinder, whose intellect always punctures the opposition, but he is always able to cover up the injury with his plastic surgery and recuperative powers. We have all had the help of these people, but, sir, the work of all these friends would have been of no use but for the sweetness, the gentleness with which you turned towards a person when you wanted him to stop in his further speaking, the patience with which you waited in order to catch his eye, the very gentle manner in which you cast the hint that he should now wind up, and when some of us were rebellious, disorderly and chaotic, you simply smiled in order to choke that attitude. It is a great thing, I tell you, that we have achieved. It is not right to underestimate what we have achieved. Much has been done behind the curtains, and but for the discipline and drilling of the majority party in this house, these deliberations would not have come to this happy end. I thank you all for the great task that you have achieved, and I congratulate you on it. All that remains for me to say is that this constitution is a good enough constitution for us to begin with. Work it out for all that you are worth, and as the great parliamentarian said in the 70s of the 19th century, when the franchise was developed in the British House of Commons. Sir, following the speech made in his lofty style, there is hardly very much left for me to say. Stop. दोस्तों इसी के साथ ये डिक्टेशन फिनिश होती है। उम्मीद है आप लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे से इसे लिखा होगा। कंटिन्यू मेहनत करते रहिए। आपसे मुलाकात करता हूँ अगली क्लास में अगली ट्रांसक्रिप्शन के साथ। तब तक के लिए बाय बाय, टेक केयर।